friend of ours dropped that strange-looking man off to my house one day and then left. I didn't know him or anything about him. And then about a week later, I was forced into going over to the Horn to see him. And after he finished his spot, I was talking to him out on the street, and I said, I don't know what you do, but I'll tell you, whatever it is, it's electric. It's electric. It's powerful.
What kind of reaction did the television show get from his singing, which was, it was almost like another person?
I've been play acting since I was little, I'll tell you that.
Because, of course, he talks one way and sings another.
Persona that you see on the screen, but that is not Jim.
You would think, oh my gosh, he's being so cute and goofy, and then all of a sudden this incredible voice would come out.
Sing like this and talk like this, you know, and it was a total dichotomy, you know, but it sort of helped me develop a character. You know, growing up in a small town in Alabama, in your wildest dreams, you know, even ever told anybody that you were thinking about going to Hollywood, you know, would have laughed me right out of town. I took up dancing, jitterbugging and things like that. And when they would have the contests, I'd always win. But I think that even way back then, it sort of triggered my fantasy of becoming maybe a performer.
The Andy Griffith Show.
One time we had a show called A Man in a Hurry, and a character was introduced named Gomer.
Ah, Andy, what'll it be, regular or hot taste?
And I asked Aaron if he would read him.
So he had told me if the part ever came up on his show that he would ask me to read for it. And I thought, sure, you know, I'd heard that a lot.
And I said, Jim, you want to read for this? He said, yeah. I read with him.
Hey, Andy.
There you go. But this boy seems to have something special. I said, why don't you throw it to Jim?
And almost from the beginning, Andy said, I think this boy could have a show of his own. Andy, after rehearsal, came into my office, sat down, put his feet up on the desk, said, ain't leaving here till we come up with something for Jim. Where do you put Jim? Where do you put this guy, somebody said, this Christ-like character who was so good, it's almost not to be believed. Where do you put this guy? Except in the greatest war machine ever invented, the Marines.
He collects people like people have collections of Beanie Babies. And it's not just showbiz people. That's what I really like. You know, you're meeting people from all walks of life.
Jim is kind of like the Pied Piper. Everybody loves him. Everybody wants to follow him and be with him. And wherever Jim is like the place to be.
I was starting to tell you about some of the wonderful new friends that I've made. They're not only great entertainers, but they're also real people. And real people, that's what it's all about.
You've got to be kidding.
Who's there?
If there's one thing it ain't all about, it's real people.
Andy ran a good show. He really did. He'd get his guitar out at lunch and start, and everybody would sing.
10,000 miles away from home, and I don't even know my name. I like Jim. Years ago, I played 63, I think it was. Me and Don and Jim went up to Lake Tahoe to play Harrah's nightclub up there. And the audience didn't know that Jim was a singer then, and I called Jim out on the stage.
Daddy, read it, funny.
He was Gomer then, right on that ball cap and stuff. The band hit and that boy started to sing, and you could feel the hair rising on everybody in the audience.
Dad, I'm getting back in the
And I walked out back on the stage, and they'd boo me every night. So Jim's okay.
Andy was very generous to the people that played on the show. He let everybody do their thing. And I thought it was very, very unselfish for a star to do that. And I told all of them, the producers and the director, and I said, hey, look, guys, I'm really flattered, but I said, I ain't never acted before. And I remember Andy looked at me and said, well, ain't nothing to it. And I sure.
And they wanted me to tell why I come.
I love that man dearly, as we all did, who was really quiet in his own way, but he'd whisper in my ear like, don't do this, don't cross it, because I was used to being a nightclub performer. And he was absolutely wonderful and sweet. And Andy was his biggest fan. He fell down laughing, but we all were. We all fell down laughing at Ron.
Can I take a pee?
Hands off.
You never do let me, love.
Here.
But one of the funniest things Don ever said to me, we were doing a scene together, and I was laughing at him, and I said, Don, I said, how can you be so funny? And he said, it helps to look like I do.
Well, Barney's like a child in that he doesn't hide any of his emotions. When he's happy, he looks happy. When he's sad, he looks sad. And most of us as adults hide everything inside.
Well, Jim Nabors was the brother I never had. We were friends from 1962. Jim was always the guest on the first show of every season. I considered him my mentor. I love my buddy Jim.
She wrote me a fan letter. And I, of course, being a huge fan of hers, I thought it was a fake. I couldn't imagine somebody like that writing me. And so she saw me and she came running over. She says, did you get my letter? I went, you really didn't write it. So, instant friends.
Well, Frank was a fantastic man. He was as gifted an actor as I've ever known him. His life was far too short. He was only 50 when he died. But all the years we worked together, we had developed a really great and healthy respect for one another and cared about one another.
I heard too. Oh, I heard too.
haven't seen his family in years, but Frank, I have very, very fond memories of him. And he was a great guy.
Those Marines are talking about a place named Con Tien, an obscure American outpost in Vietnam, as Tarawa, Iwo Jima, and Guadalcanal were once obscure. Con Tien is a bitterly exposed target just 2 miles below the DMZ. American Marines have been under fire there since last May. In just the last 4 weeks, they have suffered over 70 dead, 1,000 wounded.
How long can it be? Get you Okay, Frank Sutton dialogue.
He thinks he's got trouble with spies, murderers, beautiful women, all that jazz. He doesn't know what trouble is. I've signed over for another hitch, and that means I'll be trying again to make a Marine out of Gomer Pyle. Now, that's trouble. For me, not for you. For you, it's laughs, and plenty of them. On Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C. at 8:30 every Friday night on Television 3. And it's time to go to the movies. The CBS Friday night movies follow.
What's that ticking? Hey, Gomer. Hey, Dave. What's with the toaster?
I was just fixing to tell the folks about Post Toasties.
The owner said, "Why don't you come and see this new guy? He's a great singer, and he's from Alabama, and he's an opera singer." And I thought, that's rare.
Hey, Gomer, who's the package from?
My old buddy Andy back in Mayberry.
Ah, some goodies.
Damn.
Well, let's share the wealth. They're the Post Toasties.
I went in and I said, "Very good, young man. Very, very good. I think you'll do well." I sort of gave him the big shot routine. I thought he was very, very unusual.
You're not supposed to be playing games in here. You know Sergeant Carter don't allow that. Besides, what you using for a target?
Sergeant Carter. I'd aim for his heart, but he doesn't have a heart.
Actor Jim Nabors, who's lived in Hawaii for more than 40 years, married his longtime male partner earlier this month.
I'm 82 and he's in his 60s, and so we've been together for 38 years, and I'm not ashamed of people knowing. It's just that it was such a personal thing. I didn't tell anybody. It's just pretty obvious that we have no rights as a couple, and when you've been together 38 years, I think something's got to happen there. You got to solidify something, and so I just said, well, at my age, it's probably the best thing to do.
I've been here 25 years in this house, and I've had some of my happiest times of my life here, and I've had some of the saddest times of my life here. And it's a home. It's not just a house. I have roots here. Come to terms with a lot of things in your life, and I was real pleased about who I was. I think my faith in God is the one that gets you through those times.
It's my great honor to welcome a wonderful friend to our pulpit this morning. We'll be talking a bit, laughing a little, and then he'll be singing for us. My friend, your friend, I want to say Gomer Pyle. Hi, Jim Nabors. Jim, tell me, what does your faith mean to you?
Well, my faith is my life. So my faith has always been such a part of my whole life that I don't think I could exist without it.
Oh, who will tie my shoe? And who will
have a wonderful family that I'm still very, very close to, and they've made my life wonderful for me. And from a poor family, our background was poor, but we were very rich in love. We were too rich, but we loved each other too much.
A mother could ask for. My son, Jim Nabors.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like you all to meet my mother. This is Mavis Nabors. Turn around, Mom.
Oh, it's Pappy who'll tie my shoes, and Nanny who'll glove my hair, and you will kiss.
I come from a very small town. I never ever dreamed, that I would be as successful as these folks have made me.
Far away, over yonder.
And like in my particular business, show business, you're educated by doing primarily.
Otherwise known as Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C.
So long, Gomer. Hey, Jim Nabors.
Jim, why in the world don't you do something about yourself? You got a fine talent, Jay.
500 miles away from home.
Jim, that you talk one way and sing the other. I don't know.
Right. And he came in one day in the barber shop, and he said that he said, yeah, he says, I've been up there to Nashville, Grand Ole Opry.
You recognize that voice, don't you? Of course we do. His name, of course, Jim Nabors.
Cut it, Steve.
Such a rapport and fondness for each other, and it all stemmed from Andy. He, made it all happen. And I'm sure most of y'all here today have had your dream sometime in your life, and if it was the right dream, well, maybe you even found it. But whether or not you did, I'm sure that you're a much better person for at least having tried.
By the way, I play Gomer Pyle. I'm Jim Nabors. But I'm glad I had this opportunity to tell you a little something about myself. Thank you, and so long for now. And oh yeah, Gomer says hey.